Boom. Nice. That's okay. Terrific. And to advance.
Just the
down arrow. Okay. So terrific. So enough about me. So we'll let that build. And as we've talked about throughout our presentations, every business has had to kind of be flexible in order to adapt to all the things that have happened in their supply chains through this last year, and adapt to that adaptability. So I'm going to talk to you today about, we've discovered, and these things our supply chain is really a source of strength for us, or actually demonstrates some risks that we have with respect to being able to deliver to our organizations. So I'm going to focus today on, the strategies around planning. I'm going to refer to that design to operate, around planning, how we make sure that we can consolidate our suppliers. I think some of the risks that many organizations face was, we talked about a lot of our strategies before were developed around lowest cost, and lowest cost carries some risk. Sometimes that was sole sourcing from specific areas, from Asia as an example. And we've seen when the Suez Canal gets blocked, or when there's climate events that take place in your geography where you're sole sourcing from, these can have dramatic implications on your ability to actually deliver on your commitments to your customers. So that type of resiliency, organizations have to adjust with. The ability to produce and be flexible around the sourcing of those materials, the ability to plan your logistics and be flexible around, there's more and more organizations, the concept of having somebody else doing your logistics for you, 3PLs, the concept of actually being able to, we talked earlier about, having a warehouse where you're going to ship out to your retailers. Over the last 2 years, many organizations have converted to direct to consumer by actually creating those e-commerce capabilities. So those are the types of adjustments that people have had to make, and your ability to adjust to that is essentially what will allow you to continue to make reliable commitments to your customers. So your ability to digitalize and react, rather than being reactive, what we define resiliency as that ability to work closely together with all of your business partners to balance your supply, be able to make reasonable forecasts like we did in the game here, is to actually have some visibility to that demand that's forthcoming. We didn't really have an idea of a calendar in that specific game, but that ability to be able to know from previous patterns or for some isolated patterns that you can plan accordingly so that you're able to continue to deliver. And we'll talk a little bit about the automation. So when we're looking at low costs, sometimes that's automating some business processes that allow you to actually take some of those labor variabilities that we've experienced in the last little while. If your people can't show up at the warehouse, well, maybe some things that are automated allow you to still deliver upon your commitments. When we talk about the two business transformation, what we're also seeing in the marketplace is that many organizations, the to-be state may actually be a transformation of an entire business model. And I'll just illustrate as an example, ourselves in the software industry, the way you bought software traditionally in the past was you paid a large amount of money up front for a perpetual license that you can continue to support. We are now in a software as a service model where you can pay as you consume the software. And in true transparency, our organization, we're now focused entirely on helping our clients get to the cloud. So the sales organization, pretty much 90% of anybody who's carrying an SAP quota is not getting paid for quota on on-premise software. So it's essentially now helping our clients to get to move to the cloud, and there are a lot of offerings with respect to, together with our partners, is our partners are also able to sell SAP solutions on their paper. And that's really how we will scale as a global business, is through the working together with our partners like Stellium and others. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the key factors of what makes an organization resilient and their ability to actually be adaptable in this model. So it's really about the speed and the agility that you're able to respond, the ability to actually have that visibility through your supply chain around, are there going to be specific raw material issues with respect to our ability to actually source. If we're talking, I drive an electric car now, the sourcing of raw materials with respect to batteries. This is all an issue as to whether, all of our governments want there to be, everybody to drive an electric car by 2030, but if there's no raw materials for batteries, that might be a bit of a pipe dream. So all of these types of things, if you're sourcing, you need to be able to source those types of materials. So agility and speed, absolutely a key. Your ability to manage and produce high quality material and adapt that as your clients' needs change. The ability to measure, make to order, or to adjust. That's kind of service model, like I talked about our model moving to software as a service. Many organizations that maybe sold large assets to their clients are converting their business model to a service model, just as we have, where your contractors, because the technology is at a stage now where you're actually able to have contractors work together with you collaboratively to help serve your clients. Connectivity with all of the everybody kind of moving and having their information transparent for their customers. We all are searching that ability to actually find your suppliers and source different materials through the business network. All of SAP clients are kind of have that ability to, and others, non-SAP clients, have that ability to make their products available on this large network. So connectivity with trading partners, with your customers, is absolutely important. And more, and starting to hear it, even many of the large investor firms now are looking at only those organizations that are following, ESG practices around sustainability. So this shareholders, other stakeholders within organizations are now demanding how are you and how is your supply chain helping execute upon making sure that there's as little as waste as possible to ensure that we're a good community stewards within our own supply chains. So those are the kind of the four key things that we identify as a resilient business: your ability to be agile and quick, be productive, quick materials, connectivity with all the people in your supply chain, and sustainability as far as best practices. So the specific areas around that agility that within the synchronous planning and execution, how many of you are using planning within your SAP environments? So these are, IPB is the specific planning platform, and many of our organizations that may not necessarily have made the move to the cloud yet, many of the solutions within the SAP portfolio can be managed in the cloud on top of your existing environment right now. So you don't necessarily have to do your ECC upgrade. These are the various parts of the portfolio from a business process perspective that allow you to operate and create that plan and that visibility on top of your SAP system or any other systems in those examples where you may have multiple systems. I've heard stats that as salespeople, and I would, just looking at my phone, just a salesperson uses 50 to 60 different applications in their regular day process. So you kind of multiply that across all business functions within your organization. It become quite daunting from a managing of applications perspective. From a production planning, so that entire make, we call it design, make is the big part on the wheel here with respect to actually making that product and manufacturing that product. We're focused on that, and many of the largest manufacturers in the world, from the Deere, the Caterpillars, and the Earth Movers to many of the small appliance devices, and NVIDIA from the semiconductors. Many of these organizations are all enabling their manufacturing processes. And connectivity and sustainability we talked about as well. So just drilling down on the agility perspective. So the ability to have a complete view of your supply chain, evaluate and inspect each step of that process. So to make, if you see certain things that need to be adjusted, you have that ability to actually adjust your forecast. And synchronized planning really involves not just the planning organizations, it ensures that you're getting input from the sales department, you're understanding the constraints within your organization from a supply perspective, all of those constituents, and that full loop circle around that planning process is absolutely critical in order to understand your ability to deliver your commitments to your customers. And to be able to do multiple what if scenarios, because as I talked about, those risk scenarios, there's a lot more of those risk scenarios being inserted into plans. When we take a look at the productivity, taking a look in that 2B state is to actually take a look with some of the tools that we talked about this morning around process mapping. Are there potential steps in our manufacturing process that we can actually subcontract out or take a look at different ways to do that? Those are all parts of the things that we can help, the software can help you enable with respect to executing those processes together with your partners and doing a mapping exercise. Being able to represent, so one of the things that, around down a manufacturing line, one of the things that was always, you see someone walking down a manufacturing line with a piece of paper, telling him what to do, or a drawing to see how it's, that's one hand that's taken away from actually operating safely around machinery. So what's technologies are now enabled today is the ability to actually have, through eyewear or through on a device or on a screen in front of them, have those work instructions or safety instructions displayed to them as they have two hands free in order to perform their functions. So that ability to have a service technician, when they're working on an asset, have a representation of what that asset should look like or how that wiring should be laid out as they're, those are all the types of things around representing a digital twin of kind of that asset so that you're able to work effectively in that manufacturing process. Being able to, the earlier slide talked about being reactive, the ability to actually predict when maintenance is required. So this is around enterprise asset maintenance, that ability to actually understand the genealogy and the history of what's been done to a device, and to be able to predict through machine learning and various analytical tools to actually predict when service might be required or when a breakdown might occur. A much better way than having your customer say there's a breakdown. Around the trading partner collaboration, the ability to kind of share plans, share your forecasts with your suppliers, have that ability to actually have a back and forth, get other suppliers to collaborate on that. So anytime organizations have that ability to actually be more transparent, even in organizations that may have at one time been very, very competitive, there are pieces in a, the battery raw material. You'll see organizations differentiate themselves by being able to source that raw material, but as an industry, there are times when people will collaborate and ensure that the industry has a safe, reliable supply chain. So that ability to collaborate and work together collaboratively in benefit of an industry moving forward. And the last thing around operationalizing sustainability, I think, I can't remember which, Amit, you might have used, I think there was a presentation that used the actual supply chain control tower as an example, that ability to actually have complete visibility on your supply chain around those various impacts and environmental impacts, that ability to measure that. This is something that we're very focused on now, and delivering that same type of enterprise visibility for an organization to measure, report, and make sure that you're doing that effectively for not only your own internal organization. It's very often your employees, your own internal employees might be the loudest people asking for that type of governance within your organization to ensure that you actually are executing on those sustainable goals. So as an organization, SAP's, we've always been focused. This happens to be just last week. It was our 50th anniversary, 50th birthday. It's hard to believe that 4X IBMers, left IBM when in the days when that was the coolest company to work for, and started this company called SAP, which from the very beginning was focused around helping companies run better and improve people's lives. And that's to this very day still our mission. It's through our partners and our large organization around helping organizations run better, enable their ability to execute and deliver on their goals is what we've been focused on as an organization. And I'm quite proud of the fact that we're helping organizations take their investments that they've invested with us as a partner to help them make this transition and make their supply chains more resilient, and help them make that transition to the cloud, while also being there to help support them in their existing investments that they've made when they're ready to move to the cloud. So my contact information is here. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. My cell phone is my preferred mode of communication, but my email is andy.solty@sap.com as well. But if you have any questions, I'll be here for the panel as well, and the networking afterwards. Any questions at all?
Any questions? For control.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, I don't need a microphone. I'm just saying, it's interesting you said it was 50 years. You're older than Microsoft. Not you, but SAP.
Yeah.
Doing this for so long. And I just heard that Microsoft did their 47th birthday on Monday or whatnot. So
yeah.
It's a good perspective.
Yeah, no, it's I worked for LinkedIn for a while as well, and they were, everybody was kind of on Facebook when I started working for LinkedIn. Very few people, other than people kind of in the IT industry, who were calling on CIOs with LinkedIn. The time when companies start is sometimes it's a household name, but you don't really. 50 years is a long time. I mean, had we known at that time, I was on a Mac 2E when it first came out, thinking, wow, this is really cool. But I was more interested in junior gold mining companies at that time. Bought the wrong stocks. Sorry, I had a question as well.
What's the SAP strategy on connecting to data?
So we have an entire data warehouse strategy as well. It's not my area of expertise, but yeah, so there's absolutely a story. The business technology platform is the foundation upon which that is built. Our entire application suite sits on top of the business technology platform, which is there to, the RISE offering that I referred to is an open platform, whichever cloud provider you may wish to use, whether it's AWS or Google, GCP, Google Cloud Platform, or Azure, or have that open platform with respect to working with partners across, Microsoft, that she mentioned, they just announced that they're going forward on a RISE offering as well. But I can point you to the right person as far as the data lake.